Thank you again for joining. My name's Donald Douglas, and I'm going to be doing the training here today. We've already done a few sessions, and we got part 2 coming up next week. Some of you guys may have signed up for that. We're going to dig a little deeper into the session next week. Let me say this here at the start. Although there's not going to be any requirement for you to be like, participating and all that kind of stuff. This is, we're doing this as a live thing and not a recording, because I do want this to be an engaging session for all of us. So I'd love it if you have a quick comment or something, especially if I ask, hey, have you ever used this system? It'd be wonderful if, give me a little wave, thumbs up, something like that. So I'm not just, like talking to myself, because that's not what this is about. It's supposed to be engaging, give you a chance to ask questions, especially at the end. We're going to have some time for you to ask questions over some things, because I'm going to kind of keep it moving just to make sure we can get everything. But I've left a good bit of time at the end because I really want to get questions that you may have that we didn't cover, maybe even a quick experience or something that you have that you kind of have questions about or whatever. So that's really what this is about, is just connecting. And I know in some ways, I have heard this from a couple sessions. There's a little survey we do at the end. It can take you as few as 5 to 10 seconds just to click, here's the session. Here's how I rate you, for the session. But as a part of that, I also do say, hey, if you want to take more than that 10 seconds and just kind of say, hey, here's why I rate it. Here's the kind of stuff I still need, or here's something I need in the future. That'd be very helpful for me to be able to kind of go back and talk to the people in the county and say, hey, we need a few more things like this, or, here's how we can do this to really make sure we're helping the parents. And also, some of the feedback I've gotten has been the obvious that this is a little late to get this training out. Would be very helpful to have this at the start of the school year. But hey, you know what? Sometimes you work with what you get, and hopefully next year we're going to be able to continue this and have it at the beginning of the school year. So any things that maybe are new for next year will be able to be shared at the start of the year so we can help our kids the best. And let me say a couple of things too, a little bit of housekeeping, so to speak. There is, I think most of you guys may be familiar, but there's a chat feature for Zoom. And so if you do have a question as I'm going along, please just throw it in the chat so we can see that, so I can see that. And if it's something I can kind of work into what I'm saying right then I may pop into that real quick and kind of address whatever that is. Or if it's something like you're like, hey, you're going too fast, or you accidentally muted yourself, whatever you need to, just throw it in the chat. And again, at the end, I'll make sure that I get everything that's in the chat, as well as any questions that you have. So I am going to go ahead and get started. Let me also say this too. We are going to we do record these sessions just so people who miss it can join them. It doesn't show like your names on there, so if you're trying to run from the law or something, your name's not going to be shown. So don't worry about that. If you're that worried about it, then you put in a different nickname and turn your camera off. But I love it when you guys have your cameras on, not making it mandatory, but I love to be able to see you and get feedback again, so I can see if someone's falling asleep or doing whatever else. I just like to be able to, again, make this interactive, don't like to just talk to a camera. So thanks again for joining. And I'm going to go ahead and get started here. And let me just say a couple more comments before I start the little visual slideshow-ish kind of thing. I know this has really been a challenging year for most of us, this whole thing with COVID and our kids. I don't know how many of you guys may have kids in person in school versus, doing the digital only, the school-based digital learning. I personally have made the choice to put my kids in school, mainly because I don't want them here at home driving me crazy. No, that's not the real reason. Mainly because I know that they need social interaction, and I feel like, taking all the precautions or whatever, I feel like it's good for them just to be around other kids. That's how it works for me and for us. And that is a big thing that kids love, is, being able to interact with their peers. And that's something that COVID has taken away from us as adults, and the kids especially. And it's pretty critical for kids. So some people have been able to do that just by getting small play groups or whatever like that. I've, like I said, chosen to put my kids in school where they can at least have some level of interaction. But I will say this, it's been different. I am a father of 4 kids. So I have kids in 3rd grade, 5th grade, 7th grade, and 9th grade. So kind of have a decent spectrum of, the different school experiences. And as well, um, my wife is a teacher, so I kind of see that side of it too. And so it's been interesting just to see the things that people have gone through, both from the teacher side, from the parent side, and from the kid side. My youngest daughter, she used to love to go to school. And, especially at the beginning of this year, it was just difficult for her because, behind a mask, can't get with the kids. And even for the teachers, they have difficulties too, because, a lot of times they're used to, hey, being able to, especially with the younger kids, give them a little pat on the shoulder, encouragement, whatever like that. But it's had to be a lot of hands off. And that's difficult, to do when you're just used to being able to do that. And sometimes just give a kid just assurance, just that little touch can just be an assurance for a child. And so there's been a lot of challenges on all ends. So one of the big challenges for us as parents has been how we can help our kids. And that's why we're doing this session. So whether you're a parent, an aunt, uncle, grandparent, friend, whatever that's helping with your students, some kind of caregiver, it's been a little challenging. It's been different than it's ever been before. And so one of the things, I'm going to go ahead and start up this slideshow so I can kind of talk through these things. But one of the things that we kind of want to figure out how we can do is kind of empty their backpack, so to speak. So back in the day, as we know, that's kind of like a nickname I've given this class. It's navigating the digital classroom is officially the name, but emptying your kids' virtual backpack is what we're trying to get to here. So when my kids used to come home, if they weren't forthcoming with, what they had to do for the day or what homework they might have or something else, I could physically, and we talked about this a few weeks ago with a group of people I was talking with, I could physically take their backpack, dump it on the table or whatever else, and see exactly what was happening. Now, yeah, when you dumped it on the table, sometimes you got leftover lunch and crumbs and everything else, but you could sort through all that mess and eventually see that, hey, here's a homework folder. And you could look at that homework folder, you could see what the assignment was for the day, you could see what they had to do. And even beyond that, something that's really missing, and this is really why what we're doing today is kind of critical. Something that was really missing, that is missing, that started being taken out before Corona is the textbooks. So I am a textbook advocate big time. And here's why. It's not just so my kids can have another 5 pounds to carry in their backpack, because sometimes that just gets ridiculous how much junk they got to carry. I got one of my kids a backpack with the wheels because she was just like, I can't handle this. But I love textbooks because, hey, when your kid has a question about their homework, there's nothing like being able to go to the textbook and be like, okay, here's what they studied today. Here's what they learned. Okay, here's how they learned what they learned, especially with math. Got that math stuff, and it's like, okay, here's what I got to do. All you see is an equation. You're like, okay, I can maybe tell you how to do this, but what happens 9 times? Well, we didn't learn it like that in class. Like, okay, well, I don't know how you learned it. This is the only way I can help you, and especially if it's something you don't know, and you got to go to your friend Google, and you come up with something, and they're like, no, I don't know what you're doing. That's no, But so that's where textbooks helped out so much. You just go see how they learned it and be able to, and especially when they're like, no, we didn't talk about that. And you open up the textbook, oh, yeah, it shows this is what you read. You did talk about this. You just forgot, or you weren't paying. So anyhow, I won't go off on that too much further. So that's what we're trying to do, is kind of learn how to get to what they're doing. Now, that's not to say that we shouldn't trust our kids. And I want to say this too at the beginning. Everything we're doing today isn't about trying to be, you're trying to find something to beat your kids up with, okay? That's not what this is about. We want to help our kids, and I know that's why you guys have joined today. We're really trying to do what we can to help our kids in any way possible. But sometimes if you're not careful, when you get information, you can be like, hey, I know what you're supposed to be doing and you're not doing it. What's up with that? You start beating them over the head with information. So I'll say this a few times, but we really want to make sure that we are, helping our kids and having a conversation and not making this a confrontational thing. That's just important so they don't close the door on you. So let's get into this a little bit. So prior to COVID, Infinite Campus was already out there. Okay, so Infinite Campus, some of you guys may have connected to. And this I can say again, for those of you who are live, has anybody here used Infinite Campus already? You can give me a thumbs up or whatever if that's something you've used. Okay, so we're going to talk about that some today. That was out there before COVID. Once we got into the COVID world, Infinite Campus was still there, but we also started getting things for the students, Google Classroom, and all these Google apps and everything. Okay, so I'll delve into this a little bit more. But Infinite Campus was designed for us parents, caregivers. Okay, so that was made. You get your own personal, login that's made for you, and you're able to go in there and basically see what you need to see. So if you haven't used Infinite Campus before, it is a very useful tool for seeing what grades and everything are out there. And what you need, it kind of says here, what you need to be able to create your account is your student's date of birth and also the last 4 digits of their social security. And once you have that information, what you basically do is you click on this link here, you get an activation key, and you're able to go in there and get to their information. So we're going to kind of go through what you can see when you get in. But that's just the pieces that you will need. So this is all found on the district website. So that's dcssga.org. You can just type in Douglas County School System and it'll pull this up. But that's on the district website under resources. And once you click there, you kind of get to this parents area, parents/caregivers, whatever, that's all there. And then when you click on that, it brings up these different options that they have, different resources. So I want to mention this real quick, and I'll circle back to this at the end. But there is at the very top of this list, this Douglas County Instructional Technology Support for Parents. And what that basically is the county did want to put out a few things that would kind of help us with this process of dealing with the digital world. There's some things out there, and I'll get to this at the end, some like I said, but there's some things out there that are useful. Some things are just kind of generic Google little apps or videos to kind of talk about their thing, but just wanted to put that out there. Again, we'll circle back to that. So the parent portal here is what we're going to be getting into here at the start. And this is about halfway down that list of parent resources on the web page. If you haven't, again, gotten an account, there also are step-by-step instructions on how to sign up. We got them in English and Spanish both here. And again, that's just something that you'll see here. This area over here, just getting the date of birth and their SSN, and you can start with that. The specific instructions, I just have a quick little thing here, just kind of shows you clicking the activation key. It's both in English and also in Spanish. So they're trying to basically make it easy for you to get your account. So once you get your account set up, you basically just put in your username, your password, and you log in. And that's going to put you straight into the parent portal. So a couple pieces here of the parent portal that are kind of come out to you at the very beginning, and that's the announcements area, as well as the inbox area over here. So what these are about are basically the announcements are just things district-wide, hey, there's no school this Friday, whatever, stuff like that. Doesn't really drill down to your particular student. The inbox, on the other hand, is specific things for your students. In my experience, I haven't seen a ton of things in here from most of the teachers. Most of the teachers, maybe it's the same for you guys, they communicate with other means. So in my case, Class Dojo is what my elementary students use. And I see some of you guys nodding your head, maybe they use that too, so that's good. So because they use the Class Dojo, they don't really worry about doing anything here in the inbox. Actually, for me, the only thing I've ever seen here in the inbox is band announcements, If you don't have a kid in band, maybe you don't see anything, or maybe there's another teacher that does use it. But for me, that's the only thing I've ever seen in here. So getting into here, you can see a few different things. We'll kind of look at the assignments first. So part of what I want to do again as a parent/caregiver is I do want to see what my kids have to do. So again, the homework folder, for the most part, doesn't exist. Maybe some of you guys do have that, but my kids don't come home with a homework folder anymore. Everything is just kind of like gone. It's just all digital. So I'd like to see their assignments. And so in the parent portal, you can take a look at what their assignments were. So let me emphasize this about the parent portal. Okay, the parent portal is not a live system, as in this is what's happening at this moment in the school. Okay, So what the parent portal has in it is things that have been graded. Okay, so things that the teachers have done, they put it into the system, and then you can go here to the portal and see what kind of grades they got, so what the assignments were and everything else. There are some teachers I've seen, I think with my middle school daughter, or maybe it's more with my high school son, there are some people that have put in, I think, yeah, actually it was high school where I saw this. Some teachers that actually put in their assignments ahead of time, just to kind of let you know, hey, here's what's coming, in the future. But for the most part, my personal experience has been that you don't see things here until it's already happened, and here's what the grade is. So assignments tab here can kind of show you what the assignments are, and it kind of brings you by default to this today area. So when I look at this, and then this is a screenshot I captured from a couple of weeks ago. On that day, it showed down here that there were no assignments. And so, maybe your kid comes skipping home. They're like, hey, don't have any homework. Can I go out and play? Well, okay, kids don't go out and play anymore. Can I fry my brain on video for a while or something? Anyhow, acting like they don't have anything to do. So as a parent, I'm like, okay, let me check and see if you do have something to do. So if you go to parent portal and check, and you're like, okay, today, no assignments. Wow, fantastic. Sure, go fry your brain or whatever. Guess what? Parent portal, unfortunately, isn't your live system that's really going to show you what they got to do today. Okay, so it's going to show you what they did. It's going to show you if someone, as I already mentioned, put something in there. But 9 times out of 10, maybe 99 out of 100, it's not going to have in there what they're working on at the moment. It's just, again, going to show you what the teacher graded after they put it in the system. And I know from talking to teachers, and also from my wife as well, that they typically aren't throwing stuff up here that's not graded, that's just out there. So just know that if you want to see what's happening, this is a great place to see the actual grades. It's awesome for doing that. But as far as current, that's where we're going to be getting into some of these Google tools that are out there. So what I like to do out here in the parent portal is occasionally go out here and check out the grades that they have, that they've already come out there. And so you can scroll up here and see, like this was back in February. And one thing I saw, I kind of have this arrow here. I saw this 27 out of 36, which, doing the quick math, I'm like, oh, that's like a 75. What's up? This kid's usually getting pretty good grades. So I kind of want to click into that and see what's up. Now, just by the title, I see that's called this progress check. Okay, so maybe just some kind of something that they're doing, something they had to fill out, just check off a couple boxes. But anyhow, if you want to dig into that a little bit, you can kind of click on that, and it brings up this human geography, in this case, this class. And this is actually a link that you can click on. So you click on this, and then it's going to kind of bring out these different areas here. So the different areas are the course info, and then you also have the curriculum, you have the grades, and you have upcoming assignments. Now, again, upcoming assignments, very rarely are you going to find something in there, because they usually just, in my experience, they just don't put them in there, So in my particular case, what I want to dig into a little bit more is, kind of what the grades are. And so if you kind of click into that, you can kind of see, what the grades have been, what the in progress score is. In this case, I see it's a 97. That 27 out of 36 was probably just some kind of quick check, kind of as the title suggested. So it's nothing that I'm going to, as a parent, dig into. I'm like, okay, my son, he's doing pretty good. There's a 97. I'm not going to use this as something, again, to beat him over the head and be like, hey, what's this 27 out of 36 about? Because something else I've seen, and I'll speak to this a little later too, is that sometimes the students are actually told by their teachers that, hey, you don't have to worry about that thing, or turn that in tomorrow, or whatever else. But sometimes the teachers may not circle back around and put that date or that change in the system. So it may still show up here as a whatever grade, especially in the Google side of things. So the thing I want to encourage you again to do is to start a conversation. So don't just see a grade and just go running out there and be like, hey, what's this grade about? And just getting all whatever. Just ask them about it, and just make it a conversation. So I just want to encourage you to do that piece of it again, just asking and not just beating them up so bad. So as you get into this, grades in particular are very useful, and you can look at these a couple different ways in the parent portal. So if you kind of click on the grades, it has the different terms. You can see the terms that were previous as well as the current term. It usually pulls up the current term to start with. And so you can have the all terms, you can do term 1, term 2, and you can kind of get a look at what's been happening, kind of a thumbnail. Okay, here's the grades, here's what the final average is. This was from the first semester, so that's why it has final averages in this case. So I can look and be like, okay, I see the grades, things are looking good. I'm happy, whatever. But again, use this as a tool just to kind of see the direction that things are going, because if you're seeing some grades here that are lower than what you want, you know, it's a good time to start up a conversation and say, hey, let's look into this a little deeper. You know, I want to make sure that we're doing as good as we can, and just, you know, start that up. As well, if you click onto some of these things, especially if you click onto a specific class, it will give you the weights of what goes into this class. So this is an advanced French class for one of my daughters, middle school, and it shows the weight. Okay, here's the weight of the assignments, of the CATs, the things that they do at the start of the classroom, start of the class, what the classwork counts for, what the homework counts for, and what participation counts for. You can kind of see how it breaks out there. As well, I know for my son in high school, he has an extra category on some of his things for extra credit. So all these should add up to 100, but if you have like an extra credit category, in his case, that's worth 5 points, so he could get 105 average. So that's where those kind of things come in, as far as getting above 100 is usually an extra credit kind of thing. So just wanted to put that out there real quick. If you have older students, and if you don't now, you eventually will, there may come a point where they are driving themselves to school, or, you know, catching a ride with a friend or something else, and you're not dropping them off. So when you got younger students, you know if they're there in school, of course, you know when they got there because you dropped them off, or you know when the bus came, you know, all these kind of things. But with older students, the attendance area is a good thing to check, just to make sure that everything is the way that it should be. Because, you know, here's the reality. Kids, you know, they get a car, whatever else, they can, hey, taking off at, you know, 7:30 to make sure I make it to school on time. Mom, Dad, see you later. Hopefully they're going straight to school, but you know, there could be a McDonald's stop, or, you know, whatever. So it's good to check the attendance just to make sure that things are good and that they're the way that you think they are. So if you click on attendance, it just basically shows you, again, you can click on the terms, but it shows you absences, tardies, even early release. So it's good to see that. Now, in my case, on this one, I think I was looking at my son. I have fake names up here. My son's not Johnny Smith, but you know, they don't give us play data to work with here, so you gotta kind of do what you got to do. Anyhow, I could see here that there was some tardies that were here, and there was an absence, I know, when he was sick. So I don't have any questions about this. I know what happened. I especially know what happened that one late day when he slept too late. But and I forced him to go to school, and he was like, no, let me be virtual. Sorry, kid. Got to learn a lesson. You're going to school and you will be tardy. Hated for it. Anyhow, you can see all that information there. And that's just good to know, especially, like I said, when you have older kids that you know, maybe they have a little bit more freedom. So you can drill into it, see unexcused absences, whatever else. Also, let me say this, if you have more than one child in school, you can, up here at the top of Infinite Campus, you're able to kind of click in here and select your different children, and it'll bring up that child's information for whatever area that you're currently in. And that's a good way to just, you know, be able to quickly click through. And maybe if you're looking at grades, just click through all your kids. It'll show all their grades as you click through each kid, show their assignments. And, you know, you see from other kids, you know, all that same day, no assignments, you know. As we'll get into Google Classroom, you will see that these kids actually did have work. But here again, in Parent Portal, not that live system that's going to show all that stuff happening. So something else I want to talk about for a moment, and that is especially pertinent to younger kids, and this is their reading. Okay, so reading for younger kids is very important, of course, and you can get into the system and see what kind of stuff that they've been reading. So I know for me, I was given in January, this piece of paper came home, and it talked about Renaissance Home Connect. And this was a way to be able to see how your child is doing with their reading. Now, both the reading and math are a part of Renaissance, but reading is the only thing that they actually give us access to. And this is great because, again, it's a parent tool. So that means you get, you know, you have a sign-in that's given to you. And the reason I'm emphasizing parent tools is because once we get to the Google Classroom side of the house, you don't have a login to Google, okay? Just your kids do. And so you can't just, get your own thing happening and sign on, do whatever you want to. You have to go through your kids to get into the Google Classroom. And that's an important thing to know, because as a parent, I love having my own sign in, love doing whatever else. But in order to really be able to dig into what they're doing, you got to get into their own system with their own sign-in information, which we'll talk about that in a minute, may or may not be the easiest thing. So again, this gives you a username and password, and you can get into this Renaissance system. So I want to show you this real quick, especially if you have younger kids, because it's great to be able to check on their reading and see what they've been doing. Has anybody here, and I'll again give you a chance, has anybody seen this Renaissance system where you can log in and see your kids? You can throw it in the chat or give me a wave or a thumbs up, or a no or whatever. Has anybody seen this Renaissance thing? Basically, again, there's a piece of paper that came home that says, here's how you can log in and see this reading information. So it doesn't look like anybody's saying yes, that they've seen that. Okay. I know it at least came out at our school, and I know there's maybe been some other people that have seen it. My kids, my younger ones are at Holly Springs, so I know they gave it. I actually got another one, and it just is something well, you kind of see what it looks like, but let me slide over here at the camera for a second. These things here, basically just a piece of paper, like I already showed you, this basically said, hey, here's how you can sign into the system. And they came out, like I say, January was the first one I saw. I just got this last one here, actually in March. So just a couple of weeks ago, they sent me another one home that says, hey, here's how you can get into this Renaissance system. So ask your teachers about it, because you should be able to get into that. And I'm going to talk about this in session 2. Once you get into the Google Classroom side of the house, you can just, bypass this whole thing here and just click straight into their reading information. But this is good to be able to do as a parent to check and see. So once you get into here, basically it shows you their goals of reading. And this little flower thing here is kind of a little animated. It kind of fills up as the page opens up and will show you if they've met their goal or where they are for their goal. In this case, this particular child of mine, she has already gotten her goal that she needed to for the period. And she's exceeded that. She's showing down here 300, but almost 300% of the goal. So she's been doing a good bit of reading. And so that's a good thing. Doesn't mean that she doesn't have to read the rest of the year, because I still make them read. But at least I can see that she has met the goal. So there's different areas here. Certifications has been empty, but completed work is a good thing to see. So here you can see exactly what they are reading, okay? And this is applicable to tests that they do. They take the AR test. So how many of you guys have heard of the AR test? Most of you guys have, so thank you. So they take those tests, they get scores, and this is where all that information ties into, is this Renaissance system. So you can see, again, the books that they've read, and this shows here exactly what the books were, what the scores were for the test. So some of this information you may see on a sheet if you have a parent-teacher conference in the elementary school level. Once you get to middle school, they don't really have goals so much anymore. They might use the system some, but they don't have goals. And you also don't have parent conferences in middle school unless you ask for it. So all that stuff kind of disappears. In high school, you can forget that. You ain't going to see them teachers. But anyhow, here you can click on these things and see a little more detail. You can also let a glance. So I see here there's been about 10 things that were read at this point when I did this in March. You can look and see other months. February, there's only 2 things read. I don't know why that was. Can be a conversation starter. Why was there only 2 books? Was your teacher only asked you to do that? I'm not sure why, but hey, conversation starter. You can scroll on down here. I looked in October. October was like a crazy month. I don't know if that was like National Reading Month or what went on there, but they were just like, I was like, okay, look at all these. This is all October. I was like, okay, this is like more books than there are days of the month. I mean, what was going on here? I don't know. But you compare October to February, and I'm like, okay, 2 books in February? This was like 67 books or something. I think I counted up. I was like, what in the world? I mean, I'm happy, don't get me wrong, but I'm just letting you know that you can see this information of what's going on. And again, you can see the scores all specifically, and you can click into it and see, okay, she got an A. In this case, there was 5 questions, so 4 out of 5 she got correct. You can even see, if you click on into this, you can review the questions and see what was missed. If it's a book that you have around, be like, okay, here's what happened here. There also is an area called the TOPS report that you can see here. It says View TOPS report. So if you click in on that, what it's going to show you is their goal progress, if they've met their goal, and kind of a quick overview of what their levels are and stuff. Not going to drill into this, would probably be something for a totally different call, because there's a lot of school jargon all over the place. So a lot of stuff you look at and you're like, I have no idea what average ATOS book level is, or the Lexi, you know, I sometimes you just have to Google this stuff or have a conference and ask to get, but you can see clearly graphically here that here's the goal. I see they're past the goal. Okay, I'm happy, you know. Down here again, here's the goal. So that's just the different areas that are shown there. So this is something I just wanted to share with you real quick, so you can kind of see how you can check their reading information, especially useful for younger kids. Again, in middle school, they're typically not going to have goals. My daughter just told me a couple of days ago when I was talking to her about this, that yeah, they use every couple of weeks they have to read a book. In My Own is the system that they use, but they don't actually have to have a goal that they have to meet or anything like that. All right, so quickly moving on here. Google Classroom. So before we get into the kids part of Google Classroom, there is one part of Google Classroom that is designed for us parents, and that is this Google Classroom summary that you can get. So another quick question, who here has gotten the Google Classroom emails? Who's hooked up to that system? Anybody? You can type it in the chat or give me a thumbs up if you're not on camera. Anybody seen the Google Classroom thing? Okay, so Adrian, yes, okay, great. So again, this is information that you should have received at the start of the school year. And again, I know, just getting this information a few weeks from the end of the school year, like, okay, great, we're allowed to have had that, you know, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, whatever. But in any case, now you'll know. So you do need to ask your teachers for this if you didn't see it, or maybe it got mixed into information that was sent at the start of the school year when you get a lot of things coming at you. But this basically allows you to see what has happened for that time period. So in this case, it's a weekly summary. So it will show me when I dig into here, all the things that happened last week. It comes out on a Friday, actually. So all the things that happened on that week that's ending. And you can also see in here if things are missing. It'll show here at the top, you know, it says missing from last week was this assignment. Now, let me say this. Of course, I know most of you guys, the fact that you're on this call tells me that this is probably the way that you are. You probably prefer to be proactive. So in other words, getting an email at the end of the week that says, hey, your student missed some work 5 days ago. Not going to do you too much good. Now you can change this to be a daily thing. Okay, so that's the only thing you can change with this. You can make it weekly or daily. But the thing about this that I wish was different, but it's not, is that it's not live. Okay, so you can't like click into here and be like, okay, let me click on this assignment right here and see what's happening. No, it's not a link, so you can't click into it. It's just what happened that past day or that past week. So the only thing you can change with these Google Classroom things is whether it's daily or weekly. That's all you can do with this. So you can look and see what happened and say, I want to see this daily or weekly. So it can be useful information to see. But again, for me as a parent, what I want to do is see the live stuff. I want to see what I would see when I empty the backpack. So with no further ado, let's get to that real quick. And the same area where you got to your parent resources, there's a menu thing here for students. Now, if your students have a Chromebook, the Chromebook is going to automatically, when they get into it, it's going to automatically take them to their sign-on screen. That's the first thing they're going to see. But if you are coming into it from your own computer, or if they have a different computer, they have to kind of go through this differently. So you go to the resources, click on the students, and here you're going to see this single sign-on area, and that's where the students get into the system from. So this screen is going to usually be what they see once they open up their Chromebook, and but it's also going to be what you can get to kind of through the website. So let me say this here again. Parent portal, made for parents. You can tell by the name. Even that Renaissance system, made for parents. The Google Classroom, made for parents, caregivers. Google Classroom as far as students, not made for parents. Okay, so again, you have to get their sign-on information from them to get into this system. You will not be given a parent sign-on. There's no way to get into it without their specific sign-on information. You know, I would love it if I had a parent sign in. I could look at this stuff in a read-only thing, or I don't have to mess up anything. Not the case though. So you must contact your students and get their username and password, which can, depending on the age of your students, be an easy thing, or it may take a little more of, pulling the teeth. I mean, I can say with my younger student, third grader, hey, can I get your username password? Sure. She was happy to, hey, I got this memorized. Here you go. Boom, boom. Fifth grader, can I get it? She's like, yeah, yeah. She gives it to me. Then she's like, why do you want this? Yeah, see, got it. All right, awesome. Yes, good job. My seventh grader, when I asked her for it, she was like, why do you want this? So she wasn't forthcoming. I kind of had to, okay, I'm just trying to help, whatever. My ninth grader, he was like, okay, you must be with the CIA. I mean, just straight up, he was just like, whoa, well, I'm making good grades. Why do you need this info? Why do you need to sign in? You don't got to worry about me. I'm a responsible young man. And I'm like, is this a trust issue? You don't trust your dad? And from what he was saying, basically the answer was no. He's thinking I'm with the KGB, so I'm like, I just didn't. So anyhow, just throwing that out there, depending on the age of your kids, they may or may not be very forthcoming with this information, because guess what? Just like us adults, we're kind of programmed that, hey, username, password, especially, you don't share that with people. That's your own confidential little thing, and so even the kids are like, typically, especially when they get older, I don't want to give you my password. Number one, it might be the same password they use for something else, so they're already suspicious. You're just trying to get into my TikTok account or something crazy, It's like, okay, no. All I want to do is see what's happening. So once you sign in, you are greeted with this kind of opening area here. And this is what the kids see. This, again, is a live kids account. Well, not live, but it's a screenshot. And so you can see all the different things that they have. So they do have a lot of stuff. They can customize this. So this was customized to be pink for this daughter. She likes the color pink. And they can also choose their little icons, all that kind of stuff. They can do whatever. So I mentioned that because it's not going to look the same for every student. Okay, so one of my other daughters, when I look at hers, different background color, also has these folders that she created, class stuff, Google stuff. I guess she likes that word stuff. And so I emphasize this not just because it looks a little different, but because also you may not be able to find like Google Classroom right away, just sitting out there in front of you. So like in this case, I know what Google Classroom, what the icon looks like, but if I didn't, and I was looking through here, I don't even see Google Classroom just sitting out there in front of me. So in order to find it, there is this search bar up here that you can get to. And all you're going to do with the search bar is basically just click into here and you can start typing the word. So classroom, in this case, Google Classroom is what I'm looking for. So I can just type the word class and it's going to automatically pull up that app. And also it's going to show you what folder that it's in. So I can see it's in this Google stuff folder. So you can either click directly here on the app once it's pulled up, or you can click on the folder over here and it'll kind of open it up and you can see there the Google Classrooms. So again, it may or may not be something that you can see just looking at that screen. So that's why I'm telling you about the search area. So you may have to do some searching. In this case with my younger student, I can see Google Classroom sitting here. So once I click into that, that's going to get me the information that I need. So this is basically the equivalent of kind of a homework folder, what you see when you first open Google Classroom. So this kind of shows me what the different classes are. Got the music class. This is a leftover. I don't know why it's showing this second grade thing because she's in third grade. But this is their main tab for the third graders that has information for all the different students. I see PC, his daughter's in PC. I see their PE class. So it has things for the different classes. So you can kind of see what's up and coming, what is going to be due, what's happening even that current day. So if something is blank, that typically means that they don't have an assignment that they have to have due. There's not an assignment that was given to them that's for that day or for the next few days. That's typically what that means. But as a parent, though, I still kind of want to know what's been happening in the class. And so I will go ahead and click on these empty ones and just be like, hey, maybe you don't have an assignment, but what's maybe about to be coming up, or what has your teacher been doing? So if I click in on here on the music one, I can see that that day, actually, there was new material that was posted. So it didn't show up as an assignment, but something was posted by the teacher. So if I click into that and see exactly what this new material was, it shows me that there's this lesson week thing that's hanging out here. and I can click into this and see exactly what happened today, what was given, what the teacher was doing that day. Okay, is this an assignment I need to worry about, or were they just putting information out there? In this case, it was just kind of a summary of the week, what was going to be happening. And, you know, here's all they had to do, you know, show up in person, get ready to learn. So nothing I got to worry about in this case, you know, but I can see that there was some kind of activity, you know, that happened. And so that's good to know again that, hey, here's some information. So in looking at these things, I can click in, and for this particular tab here, I see that there is something that was due Friday. So I can click directly on that link and get into what is out there. And on this one here, looking at these reading things, this particular teacher, actually what she does is she puts out slides that they're going to use every day in the classroom. Okay, so when they go to the classroom, the kids, you know, the teacher pulls up these slides and they kind of start clicking through the slides together in the classroom. So some things that you see here in Google Classroom aren't necessarily assignments, but it might just be tools that the teacher uses. So all the students, you know, on Wednesday they come in, they click on the slide together as a class, and they kind of click down through these different slides with the teacher. And down here you can barely see it, but you know, it shows them reading aloud, shows the classwork, questions that they have. So sometimes they actually will physically fill out these slides along with the teacher. So again, not everything out there is an active assignment that they need to work on. And some of the teachers will even tell you as you look along in the comments and stuff, whether or not it's something that is to be done at home or in the classroom. So if you click on the main area up here, so not the individual assignment, but if you click on the main area up here, that's where you can see all the things, in this case, that all these different teachers that are listed here, all the things that they have put out there currently and even up and coming. So in this case, I can see there's a fractions assessment, math instruction, this website thing, reading. I can see all those things here for all of the teachers. And so if I click on these here, I can see that there's this quick assessment that was given. I can click into that, and it'll show me specifically that, hey, this work was assigned. So that means that was something that was put out there for the kids to do. So I can click into this particular slide and see exactly what the assignment was. And let me say this again, I threw this out here. Some of these things, again, are to be completed together in the classroom. Okay, so you might even see it assigned, but in this case, the teacher put out here, hey, this Jamboard, we're going to complete this together in the classroom. Or this homework here right now says complete in homeroom on this date. So sometimes they'll put that out there. So again, I say that to just make sure I emphasize again that you don't, make sure you start a conversation with all these things. Say, hey, I see this out here. Is this something you have to do right now? And your kids will usually tell you, hey, no, we do that together in the classroom. And you know if your kids are making up a story or what the deal is, you know. But again, you can click into these things and see, you know, what the different things are, this punctuating titles, click in, see what's happening there. But, you know, just want to emphasize again that these things really, you can click into whatever information you need in these and get to it. Here, once you click into a particular area, let me go back to this screen. When you click into this part here, you will see this little area here that shows upcoming. It shows what's due today, what's due Thursday. So if you click on this view all, it's going to open up a new screen, okay? That's going to show you everything that's happening. And at the top of this screen, you see this area here that shows assigned, missing, and done. Okay, so you can see the things that are currently assigned. You can see any work that they should have done that is missing. And you can see things that have already been turned in or completed. So when you click on an assignment, it's going to show you what status it is. It's going to show you if it's assigned. It's going to show you if it's completed and turned in. And so here under the assigned thing, you know, I see there's no due date on several things. There's this week, I see 3 things that were assigned. Okay, so this titles, note pages, punctuation thing, these things were all assigned already. If I click under missing, I can see here, hey, what's this missing? This March 22nd independent assignment, that's missing. So again, perhaps a conversation starter. And this actually for me did start up a conversation when I saw that this was missing. I was like, hey, why is this thing missing? Because when I clicked in on this, again, it's showing here that it's missing, that it was due that day. When I click in on this particular document, I see that this was a little math assignment. It was a pretty easy assignment. When I looked at this, I'm like, hey, this What describes this sign? That takes a second. 1, 2, 3, 4 things. This could have been done in like 2, 3 minutes probably. So I'm like, why is this missing? So I asked my daughter about it, and she actually told me that in this case, it was something the teacher told them to do the next day. And this is a daughter that I can tell she wasn't just making up that story. Because again, I can see this could have been done pretty quickly. So I tell you that to, again, emphasize that, hey, talk to your students when you see these things and let them know there may be a reason why something is missing. Or there may not be a reason, or the reason may be that they're slacking off. So you got to start off a conversation with this, and just so you can know, so you can be in the know. Under the missing tab, it does show this week, last week, and earlier. So I kind of started digging into this some, and I'm like, okay, last week, I'm showing 2 assignments missing, okay? Friday and Wednesday, okay. Clicked into this a little further, earlier. I'm like, okay, missing stuff from February 25th. I'm like, okay, this is 18 missing assignments. So I'm like, what's up? Now, apparently in her case, she said that, you know, some of these teachers, they do what she said, and that is there's things that they decide, hey, you know what, we're not going to worry about that. You know, you've already done enough stuff for the day, so don't worry about that. But if they don't circle back around into the system and change that as an assignment, it's going to come up here in the Google Classroom showing that it's missing, okay? So you're not going to see it when you go into the parent portal and you're looking at grades and see, you're not going to see a bunch of zeros if that happened, okay? But the Google Classroom is just, again, it's a live system. So whatever you put in there, it's going to show you. So just be aware of that. It also will show you not only missing, but it will show you what's been turned in. And in many cases, it will show you the grades as well, if it's something that was to be graded. And if you dig even a little deeper, it can even show you what was done late. So again, conversation starters, okay? Just start the conversation up to see. Some things are perfectly fine. Some things the teacher said, hey, don't worry about this, turn it in tomorrow, it's fine. And so it shows up late, but that didn't actually affect them. Okay, I'm going to talk about this some more in part 2 for those of you who might be signed up next week. But you can see a little bit more information on these things. Let me quickly, because we're running out of time and I want to leave you time for questions. I'm just going to quickly touch on a couple other things. This is the Google Drive. On that first screen that you come into, you can get to the Google Drive if you want to. And the only reason I'm going to touch on this, you know, my wife being a teacher again, she's like, you know, the Google Drive is just it's not a good spot really to look at. I kind of think it is a great thing to look at as a parent, because what you can see at the Google Drive is everything that they have worked on, okay? So it's not going to be set up, you know, by the classes and neatly and stuff like that. So it's kind of a little bit of a messy area, yes. But the thing that's good about the Google Drive is that, again, when you empty their backpack, you can see everything that has been going on, okay? Here's everything they've been working on. You can put it in your own little stacks, keep it at home, whatever else. Here in the Drive, you can see electronically what they've been working on. So I can click on these. I can see these assignments that they've been given throughout the year, throughout the month, and it goes, you know, today, yesterday, last week, and earlier. So it's great to see all the things that they have been working on, because I, as a parent, want to know what they've been working on during the school year. And without getting into the system, I can't specifically see. There's not a piece of paper I can grab and be like, oh, I see you're working on punctuation. It doesn't exist. They don't come home with those pieces of paper. So Google Drive is a great place to actually look and see exactly what they were working on. A couple other things I'll mention super quick, because I want to leave you time for questions. Google Meet. How many of you guys, you can give me a quick show of hands, have had a meeting with a teacher, have an elementary student? Okay, Adrian, yes. All right, good. So a couple of you guys have had meetings at least with a teacher. So here's something I experienced myself in having a meeting. Maybe you guys had a perfect world and I'm happy for you. For me, it wasn't, unfortunately. And thank you, Corlette, let me know that you haven't had a meeting. When I was given a meet code for my meeting with the teacher basically gave me just a code, okay? It says here you can enter a code or a link. And so the teachers may give you a code. If they give you code, believe it or not, and I'm sure you do believe it, we live in different worlds than the teachers and the students, okay? So in my world, I do whatever I want to. In the teacher-student world, they do what they want to. And there is a literal wall between us, which is why you have to go into your student account to see what they're doing. You can't see it if you're just in your world. So what sometimes has happened with teachers, and I love teachers, like I said, I'm married to a teacher, so I'm not trying to bash teachers, but what has happened sometimes is they forget that they're in their world. And I've had this happen several times during the school year where they'll throw out some information. I'll click on a link, and the first thing that pops up is some kind of screen that says, basically, hey, you can't get into the system. The teacher didn't remember that they need to give a different link to us as parents, because we're not behind their little firewall to where we can just click on everything and get to what they need to. So if they just give you a code, I have this little conversation here I just kind of threw up here. This down here says, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it says all conferences will be via the Google Meet code AND5. So that's basically saying I should be able to go to Google Meet and put in this code and it should work. So back on this screen, what I did was I went to Google Meet, and this just meet.google.com. As a parent, went to here, put in the code, and the thing was like, ain't no meeting like that. No meeting. Sorry, not there. Doesn't exist. I was like, but they gave me a code. But it's like, no, there's not a meeting. You're mistaken, sir. Just give me these errors. So I had to come back here. You can see I said, good morning. Is there a special place for me to join this meeting? I'm going there and putting in the code, but it says I can't find the meeting. And, and it couldn't, because that was a code just for them. A student could use it. If I grabbed a student's computer and was in their system, I could put that code in there. But that's not my world. I'm just on my own computer like I am right now. I just go to Google Meet. So if they don't give that to you, make sure you get an actual link, like down here at the bottom. Here's a link that the teacher gave me, because this is a different teacher. This has happened several times during the year. It says, here's the meeting code. I said, is this the real code? Yes, that's correct. I'm like, okay, I'm putting in the code and I'm not getting anything. They're like, oh, okay, we'll try this link. If that, and of course it didn't work. I need the link. I need the link. So just be aware that if a teacher just gives you a code, say, hey, I need the link. I'm not stealing my kid's laptop. Or if you're stealing the laptop, that may be fine. But in my case, I need a link. Maybe I'm at work or somewhere else. I need to have that link to be able to log into the meeting. So I just want to throw that out there. So again, at the start, and I'll do this super quick. I mentioned that link about the parent support portal at the very top of the parent resources page. So this is something that the county put out there, and just to kind of help you have a few places to look to get a little bit of information. So some of these things down here under this G Suite Classroom for Parents, this is just one area of the support portal. These things here just kind of bring up little quick videos. Some of these are just literal quick, hey, this is Google Slides, something that Google put together, just kind of let you know what features they have. So some of them don't really give you too much information. There are other areas, if you click a little deeper into this support portal, where there have been specific videos made that are for Douglas County. But so it's a mixed bag of what's out here. So just make sure if you're looking for something, you dig in a little deeper. I'm going to end there. Let me do a couple of things. I do want you guys to, if you would like to ask a question, I want you to unmute and go ahead and throw the question out there. I also do, before I forget, I do want to put this link out here for the survey. Let me do this real quick. I'm going to put this in the chat. So this is a survey link. And again, this can take you 5-10 seconds just to click on that link and be like, okay, this is parent tech training class number 1. I rate this a perfect 10 because I love Mr. Douglas, whatever. No, give me the honest rating, and that's just because I do want to see what we need to do differently, if we need to change up, or if again, and let me say this too, anonymous. So I'm not going to track this down. You'd be like, hey, Jim Holloway, yeah, okay, that's how you rated me, huh? All right, I'll remember that next time I see you. No, I don't know who puts what ratings in or whatever. We're all friends. I love you, and it's more useful to me, honestly, if I know exactly how you feel about stuff, because I can go and, and make improvement myself, or talk to the county and say, hey, people are telling me left and right, they needed this information 6 months ago. Let's make sure if we do this again, let's do this in August, September, whatever, so people can start off the school year right and not just be trying to pick up the pieces. So just give me that stuff so I can take this information back and have a good conversation. So again, it's going to be in the chat. You can just click on that link and it should open up hopefully a separate window to where you can do that survey real quick for me when we're done here. But go ahead and unmute real quick if you have a question for me. And if I don't know the answer, I'll make it up. No, I'll get the answer for you if I need to. All right, go ahead. Anybody?
The link disappeared. The link disappeared. Can you put the link back up?
Okay, it should still be out there. I see it on my side, but I'll paste it in there again.
Yes, thank you.
No problem. You may have to scroll down. I'll put that there as many times as I need
Okay.
to.
That's good. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, anybody else questions? I mean, you don't have to just make up a question, but honestly, if you do, I mean, I did not by any means cover everything. I go not time and an hour's call to dive super deep into some of these things. I mean, there is a part 2 where we will talk a little bit more about these things and go a little deeper, but
Question.
yes.
In reference to the Google Classroom for parents, we can only access it. I just want to be clear when we plug in their information, their username and password, correct?
That is correct. So without doing that, the only thing that you may be able to get, and you should be able to get, is the email that gives you the past information of what happened. But as far as getting into the actual student live information, only way you can do that is by getting their username and their password. That's the only way.
Okay, and so part 2 of that question, the email, I have never seen the email come through like that. Okay. How can we set that up, or do we need to contact the teacher?
Yes, you do need to contact the teacher for that. So they'll have to basically send an invite to you.
Gotcha.
And when you get that invite, it'll basically walk you through just clicking on a couple things, and then you'll be set up to get that email coming to you every week, or once you get it, you can change the time period to be daily.
Gotcha. And it's each individual teacher, not just one teacher and they have it all. It's each teacher.
Well, you only need pretty much it's going to be, I think their homeroom teacher is going to be the one that has it. Because
gotcha.
once you get that, it applies to all the classes. So it Perfect. Has all the class information in it.
All right. Thank you so very much.
Yes. Thank you for the question. Very good question. Appreciate it. All right. Anybody else with a question? That's a great question.
Is everything going to continue to be digital after the pandemic is over?
All right, that is a great question as well. So from what I understand, they will still have Chromebooks and still have digital things as a part of their learning. So those things are not going to go away. Okay, so there's going to be a digital aspect of their learning. I believe the school system is pretty much for this upcoming year, starting in I think August or whatever, the 21-22 school year, going to pretty much try to have everybody back in the school. Okay, but even back in the school, they still are going to be using their Chromebooks, from what I understand, and they still will be turning in things digitally. So you still will need to be able to get into the system in order to see what's happening with them. And I know that some specific schools, I think, again, they're going to be given a choice, because what the county has done, the superintendent, he has given individual schools a lot of autonomy and allowed them to make choices as to what works best for them. I know for my daughter in her middle school, they've said that that school is going to be, you know, in person only. So the option is going to be out there for people to be still, I think, school-based digital learning. I think that option is going to still be there for some. But I know in the case of her school, they're like, hey, if you want to learn digitally, you're not going to be coming to this school, because this school is going to be in person only. So you're going to have a different one. And even at the start of this year, I think schools had a choice if they wanted to make a teacher that was specifically for digital learners, or have the teacher dividing up like most of the schools did. And that was a difficult thing for teachers to have, to be split up. You know, I got some kids in front of me, some that are online. I know, and I didn't share this, but I know that one of my daughters, my youngest daughter, when I had my parent-teacher conference with her, I realized pretty quickly into it that the teacher didn't actually really know my daughter. My daughter was in person, but I've done a lot of teacher conferences. But what I came to realize as we started talking, and it wasn't we, it was just her talking, was that she did not know my daughter. There was nothing said at the start of the conference that's, hey, I just love your daughter. She's whatever. She talks a lot. She talks too much, whatever else, or she's quiet. Didn't hear any of that stuff. Nothing about her, like zero. It was all numbers, all statistics. And I realized at that point, I was like, she doesn't know my kid. And I'm not saying that as a, hey, let's just, drag the teacher under the bus. But part of it is just a fact that, hey, they got kids in the classroom, they got kids online. And if they, start ignoring one group or the other, pretty quickly, a teacher shared this with me, that they got to keep things moving or else the kids will get disengaged. And as some of you guys know, if you got older students or if you got students at home, a lot of times they got one screen with schoolwork, they got something over here watching some video. So it's a challenging environment. So I probably answered more than what you wanted to hear, but there still will be a digital aspect. Thank you for that question. Sorry, I kind of went off on that little semi-tangent there.
Thank you.
Yes. Anybody else?
I have a question.
Yes.
This has been great. And like you said, I really wish this we would have had this at the beginning of the school year.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. But I was just curious, like, how are you all knowing, like, do you work in the school district? Because I'm always like looking on the websites and stuff like that and looking for basically these answers. And I was so grateful to see that this came up, you know what I mean? And like, where do I go specifically for information? Because I tried to walk into the school and just ask a question and they're like, oh, you got to email everybody. And it's like the disconnect because I want my answers like kind of real time,
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
And they're like, email me back by the time I get to this, by the time I see it and then get back to them and then they see it, a week goes by all the time, you know what I mean? So I know at my middle school, we don't, maybe because of COVID and we've been there for 2 years and then pretty much last year was COVID, we don't have like a PTA or anything. So it's hard, and I'm often calling like the school board just to find out anything, you know what I mean? So, I know you said you was a teacher and maybe that's why you have all this information, this great information.
Well, okay, so what you bring up is awesome points. And this is a part of, because even though I am married to a teacher, my wife hasn't been the one coming forth with this information. She's in high school. 3 of my kids aren't in high school. And so I will tell you this, that it is difficult, as you know. It is difficult to get information. For me as a parent, I always loved the beginning of the school year where I could meet and see the teacher face to face, okay, and let them know that, hey, guess what? I'm an engaged parent. I want to know what's going on, and I do want to have as many conferences as you're willing to do so I can keep track of the progress, but I want you to know that I care about my student, okay? When the teachers know that, typically, they're going to make sure they give you the love that you need, but when they don't know that, again, I'm not trying to throw the teachers under the bus on this because it's been difficult for everybody, okay? It just has. But when they don't know that, a lot of times, especially in this environment, it's going to be hard to get that information on a lot of things because no, you can't go into the schools anymore, basically, at this time, there's a big sign sitting on the front door, you talk through an intercom, somebody may walk out to you and, throw you some information if you're lucky, but, you're not stepping through those doors right now. And I know it's for reasons, health reasons, of course, I want our kids to be safe and all that kind of stuff, don't get me wrong, but it is challenging to dig into this information. So no, my wife is not my secret source for information by any means, unfortunately. She oftentimes actually doesn't understand. I've had several conversations to where I'll be like, hey, I'm looking at this thing, I'm not seeing XYZ, whatever else. She's like, oh, well, just do XYZ, just do this, da, da, da. I'm like, hey, remember, I'm not behind the firewall. If I've hijacked my kid's account and I have a question, I can't just like type in there, hey, teacher, I have this question. And by the way, I'm in my kid's account, because guess what? When the teacher, whenever they do respond, it's going to come straight to the kid. It's not coming to me because that's not my account. So I don't get that information to me. I'm not going to be holding a computer for a day or a week just waiting for that answer to come back, And so it's very difficult. So things like, the class dojo that at least gives you a chance to have a little more information. Not always, easy, even with that sometimes. Teachers have different degrees of responsiveness on that because, again, they're stuck in the classroom with students online in the classroom, so they can't just be sitting there waiting for me. So I realize that 100%. But so it's a challenge. And so I've had to do some digging definitely in these areas. And, I've had to get into Google Classroom, and I've had to have some conversations with some teachers. So I definitely share your frustration on this, but the county realizes, don't get me wrong, because the county was the ones that, said that, hey, let's go ahead and offer this for the parents, so we can kind of start getting them into the system, because they know. Okay, I had a conversation with the superintendent, he knows that since COVID, things aren't quite the same. He knows that there's some things that have been left out. Okay, he said those words came from his mouth. He knows that we're not at the same level, especially at the start, as we were to start with. Okay, so it's a known thing out there, and that's why they wanted to have this tech training put out there to kind of try to help us parents with these things. Now, unfortunately, like I say, it was late. Literally, the notification went out the day before these classes started, and so it was kind of a difficult thing to be able to sign up for. But hopefully, we're going to be able to keep this rolling and just help things to change, and be able to get us close to where we need to be at least, but it's again, without a specific parent sign on to getting into Google Classroom, there's just going to be some challenges out there for us in trying to get to where we need to be. But the good thing is that if you're an engaged parent, you will do what you need to do to try to get your information, but no, it's not easy. And no, I don't have a secret, little source, a little, elf that runs around and tells me stuff. I wish I did, because it's still tough. It's tough. So thank you. Great question. And thank you for sharing that experience. Because again, that's something I want to be able to take back and say, hey, this is not just me saying this stuff, because that's the reason why this kind of started up. I'm like, it's not just me that's frustrated with these things. This is parents all over that are having challenges, trying to help their students, trying to get information. And believe it or not, just because it's thrown out there on the county website, on their Facebook page, that doesn't mean that everybody sees that, and that unfortunately is something that sometimes people think is the case. So thank you. Any other questions? I know we're over time at this point. I don't mind taking as many questions. I'm fine with my time, but I do, again, just want to make sure you guys have a chance to ask questions. And again, if you can do the survey, even just here's the class, here's the rating, even that'll help me some. But any information you can share in that survey, like what you just talked about, Corlette, that would be great. So I can take back, hey, I'm not just making this up. Here's the actual thing in the survey that says, hey, I'm having a really hard time getting stuff from teachers. I need to see that stuff, because I do want them to know that, exactly what's happening with us parents through all of this stuff. But
where is the survey? Is that this thing that says forms GLE?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
the survey? Okay.
Yes. So yeah, click on that link, and like I said, as much time as you have to give me details, that's great.
Okay.
I really appreciate that, because
Sure.
we're trying to get to a better place, and the county, they do want to, believe it or not, they do want to help us. They're not trying to work against us. Okay. They do at the higher level, they want to help us out. So despite sometimes some experiences that we may have had, individual teachers or at a school or whatever else, the county does want to help us through this difficult time, because it is difficult for us. It's difficult for kids. It's difficult for teachers. You have some teachers that they were like, okay, you know what? It's time for me to retire. I don't want to deal with all this tech and stuff. I've put in my 25, 30 years. I'm out of here. So all the teachers have had training. I know for a fact some teachers were like, okay, this is my time to kind of step aside, because this isn't what I signed up for as a teacher.
Right.
I signed up for being able to be right with my students, to give them stuff to touch, to whatever. Here's your book, here's your whatever. And it's going in different directions. So some teachers have struggled with it. That's just the truth. It's just the truth.
I've experienced both sides of this, because I retired at the end of last school year with Atlanta Public Schools,
Okay,
and I was in kindergarten. So I had to do the end of the school year virtual only. And I also had to work with my kindergarten granddaughter while I was working in the classroom online. So it was a big challenge, but I was relieved to be able to start a new school year in Douglas County with her, and be able to meet her teachers in the beginning of school, or before school started, and actually go through the building and see all of the safety protocols that were available in the school. I actually got to visit twice, because I had to pick up her Chromebook, of course, the second time.
Okay.
And at that point was when I expressed and let her teachers know my desire for my granddaughter and what I expect from her and from the teachers, and develop a rapport between the two of us so that we can work together to get her to where she's supposed to be.
Wow.
That has worked out perfect. And I just have to give them their kudos. If I ask a question, they respond quickly. If I have issues, they respond quickly. If they have issues with her, which they don't, let me know. And it has been the perfect marriage. I know that it hadn't worked for everybody, but I just thank God that it's been working for us.
Wow.
As far as her work, when we first started this virtual this year, I would sit down with her because they do class online on Fridays. And then they do the 4-day in the classroom. I opted for her to go to class because she do better.
Yeah.
Too many distractions when you're at home. So her sitting in front of the teacher and learning has been very positive.
Great.
But sitting with her at home has also taught me some of the things that she's doing, that, you know, how to maneuver the classroom and the different sites that they have to go through. That has helped me learn to, you know, help her. But this class has helped me even more because you have delved into some things that I did not know about.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. And I will be using them.
Good.
Look, I'm going to show you. I took my notes.
Okay.
So that I can go back and I can go to where you were teaching us and, you know, delve more into those different sites and learn more about, you know, what's going on, what I can do, what I can use, and find out things that I can use and learn to help her while she's in class. You know, because next year I have 2 at the school.
Okay.
One's in pre-K, one is first grade. So next year we'll have kindergarten and second grade. And trust me, it's a challenge, but it could have been worse. It could have been a lot worse. So I thank you for having this class, and I will be in the next one.
Okay, great.
As much as I can. And I did the survey.
Okay. Oh, great. Thank you.
Can I just piggyback on what Ms. Holloway just said? I did the survey, and this probably should have went into the survey, but I already submitted it. Just like she was saying, I tapped out at 4th grade math. I'm not smarter than a 4th grader. You know what I mean? So like you said, I can figure it out if I'm helping with the homework. But like you said, the math is so different. There's the way they do this multiplication and dividing and all this other kind of stuff. Who we go to and talk about just having somebody come in and just teach the parents, you know what I mean? So we can assist the kids. You know what I mean? If you know, my child's telling me, well, I didn't learn it like that, so you can't teach it to me like that. I'm like, you know, one of my teachers said, just go to YouTube. But I'm like, you know,
Yeah.
there's 80 different ways on YouTube. I just wanted to know how you're teaching so we can assist. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Yeah, I'm like, they need something. If they're gonna teach these parents, I'm an older parent, so I'm 40 years older than you know, when my kids were born. So it's hard. That math is totally different than when we learned it, you know?
Yes. Well, yeah, and that's again a great point. And I don't, you know, that's something you have to do individually with the teacher as far as that, if you're going to get the specifics on how they do it. Because the YouTube, you know, if that's all they point you to, they ain't, you know,
that's not doing it. And that's what I was like, yeah.
And I'll tell you this too. I know that, and thank you, Kim, again for sharing that, just your experience as a teacher and everything else. I thank you that it's awesome that you were able to get in there in the school, Ms. Holloway, and be able to see and meet with the teachers and everything else. You know, I know every school has their individual way they can do it. So I know at our school that was not an option, you know. But once you make that connection again, that's a great thing to do. But yeah, especially the math, that's been one of the biggest challenges with this whole virtual thing for the reasons that you stated. And also the fact that I know in my case, they were doing their math stuff online, okay? And so they'd have a question, and here's the problem you have to solve. And a lot of times they had to type in their answer, okay? And it's whatever way they type in that answer, if it wasn't exactly the way that it was supposed to be in the system, When they turn that thing in, some of them give you instant grades, okay? So
Right.
I literally watched my daughter finish an assignment, turn the thing in, get back a grade that said like she made a 60, and tears came out of her eyes. You know, even, you know, she's like, I thought I did all this right, you know, I got a 60, you know, and I looked at it and it's like, okay, I'm doing this, and mathematically, you put in the right numbers, even though it's showing it's wrong. Well, the thing that was in the system was maybe showing, you know, the answer was 1.5. So maybe in the system it showed 1 space 1/2, but she just put in there 1/2. You know, it's 1.5, but no, the system wanted a space in there. And so when you checked it, it immediately said, no, this is wrong. Now, I went to the teacher and asked them, they're like, no, don't worry. We go back, we look at these things, you know, we make sure that, you know, if they put the answer that's actually right, we make sure it's going to be there. But that's not what the students getting back there instantly on the spot. You know, and it's, I mean, this happened several times where my dad's like, dude, you know, you're killing my kid right here. You know, I mean, you're controlling her emotions. I mean, if she got back a good grade, she's like, yeah, I'm happy with life. But she gets back and she's like, I mean, literal tears. I'm like, dude, you're making my kid go through this emotional roller coaster. Just stop the instant grading or something. But again, so there's with the math, there is, for the reasons you stated, not knowing how they do it, you know, getting weird. And some of the teachers changed it up to where they started just putting multiple choice. And that helped with that issue a lot, you know, but I still have seen stuff. Yes, Miss Holloway.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
You ask the teacher if they are getting the work from a book. If they're getting it from a book, they can give you the name and the manufacturer or the author of the book. Go online and they will have, in most cases, because we did this in kindergarten in the math book, where the parents can go online to that particular lesson in the book, and it will have a video showing you how to do that actual problem or whatever they're working on. So check and ask her if they have a manual that they're using.
Right.
And, go to that online. Try that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, we have relatives in Gwinnett County, and they actually, on their Google Classroom, they actually post the textbooks online, so they can just kind of flip through. And I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's good. And I know it. And speaking with my wife some about this, a lot of it definitely is teacher dependent. So with her classes, she said that if she puts an assignment up there for the kids, she will also put all the resources they need for that assignment right there in that same area. You know, so there's no, you know, there's no excuse for them not to be able to do it. They can see it all right there. A lot of teachers don't necessarily do that. And so, yeah, like you said, you do need to have that conversation with the teacher and also see, because sometimes, depending on how the school works, I've seen this happen, that, you know, there's a departmental teacher that says, okay, here's the stuff for them. And all the teachers basically get is just this sheet or whatever that has what they need to give to the students, but there's no other connection to it from the teacher. So sometimes you got to dig in a little deeper, get to that lead teacher, get to whoever else, because it's coming from somewhere. You know, somebody has this information, you know, but it's not going to necessarily be forthcoming. So thank you so much for that, Ms. Holloway.
Good stuff.
Yep. Anybody else? This has been
This is-
great.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say one other thing. If they can't, you did a great job. If they offered additional information for parents, I mean, yes, COVID has been one of those things that has taught us so many aspects of life, whether it be in education or in life itself. There's so much we have learned from this experience, and taking that forward, especially in the school system. And I do see that they're going to offer the Flex Academy and things like that, which is great because a lot of kids can really function well with that. But for the parents who have children that are in class, or even with the Flex Academy, it would be better, and Mr. Douglas, you did a spectacular job. It'd be great if you had other things to teach parents, because like the math situation, yes, math is done totally different than the way we learned it. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I know how to get to the answer, but apparently it's not the same way you know how to get to the answer. But that said, I mean, we're a society of educating one another. We really are, either through YouTube and
Mhm.
YouTube is great, but sometimes you're right. You got 95 different ways you can do it. But for our particular county, maybe that's something that they can look at. They can have a couple people that do just like you're doing right now, training in the daytime and the evening time, just different aspects of what the educational curriculum is. That way, for the parents who want to be engaged, because you either had to be engaged or you just were lost, period.
Yes.
The parents with COVID.
Yes.
And I think it brought a lot of people to a different place in their life, especially with their children. It probably brought a lot of families closer and probably pushed a lot of them away. But at the end of the day, when you got your tools, parents need tools just like the children do.
Yes.
We can do more, and it would take a load off a lot of the teachers if we had the opportunity to learn additional things that would benefit our children, because it's taught me a whole lot. And this is my second time around. I just adopted 4 children.
Oh, wow.
I'm 53 years old, and I started all over again because I got grandchildren the same age as my adopted children. So that's why it's imperative for me. I mean, I'll be willing to do something,
Yeah.
because I'm stay at home with them. So I'm willing to do something with the county if necessary.
Wow.
I got a medical background and some educational background. So again, training is everything.
Yeah.
Is everything. But I do appreciate everything that you just taught. Some things I knew, some things I did not know, but it always helps. Every little bit helps.
Yes.
And it makes for a better opportunity all the way across the board.
All right.
For
Well,
everyone.
awesome. Yeah.
My
Thank you.
granddaughter's school did a reading workshop for the parents, which was great. It would be nice if they have a math workshop for the parents so
Yeah.
that they can be able to help the kids with their homework better.
Definitely. And yeah, I think a lot of that, well, I know a lot of that is just a resource challenge. Do we have the head count? Do we have, the funding or whatever to do these different things? That's what a lot of it boils. At the end of the day, a lot of stuff boils down to that, to the resources that are out there. But to your point as well, some of these things, it just needs to be known, because as we know, it's that squeaky wheel or whatever that gets, oily wheel, squeaky wheel, anyhow, whatever that expression is, I'm screwing up right now. Yeah, that thing that's making noise is what gets the attention.
If the county doesn't know, they can't help. They can't do anything about it. So
yeah. So yeah, again, I'll emphasize again, and if you need to take the survey again, it doesn't matter. It's not tracking you, so you can throw in a second thing. Put your comments in there. As I said, I'm recording this stuff anyhow, so I can go back and listen to it again myself. But yeah, definitely throw those comments out there and take as much liberty as you need, just to, because again, this is going to be something I take back to them and say, hey, we need XYZ. We need some individual math training, for the parents. The engaged, because engaged parents like you guys, you want to help your kids. And then the county loves engaged parents. The teachers loved engaged parents, okay? And so, but the love itself isn't enough, okay? We need the love, but we need some tools.
True. And resources. So I have a resource question. What would be the resource for getting testing for my child, who I know is not a good student, and I know he has dyslexia and some learning disabilities that haven't been diagnosed? What resource is there for that in the school system?
Okay, so they should be able to, and this is something you're gonna have to follow up with their teachers and their counselors and stuff, but they should be able to get tested for all those things that are at the school.
There's counselors?
You can request it through the teacher.
In elementary school?
Yeah, there's counselors. Yeah, they don't.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't have. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to tell, I can speak from experience because mine have learning disabilities. I have 3 of my children are disabled. So believe me, you can ask and they will help you and they will do the testing. You just ask the teachers. And if you can't get anything from them, go to the administration and they'll send you to the counselors to get it all started. But yes, you can get those. And I personally want to tell you, that's awesome that you recognize that your child has a problem, because a lot of parents do not, and these children suffer in their life. So it's imperative that
Right.
you are proactive to make sure they get everything they need while they're young, so that they get all the benefits that they are entitled to as they become young adults.
Yeah.
I'm sorry
And
to get on my
he's in
soapbox
fourth
about that.
grade. I don't, he just can't get any farther without some help, because he's going to be lost in middle school without it.
Mhm.
And I
Start it
just
now.
haven't. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
Oh,
So
you're
the
welcome.
teacher, go through the teacher first. Is that what you're saying?
He requested that your child be tested. Also,
Okay.
the pediatrician.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yes. And we have done that. So the problem is Medicaid apparently is difficult to work with, but but yes, thank you.
So go through the pediatrician if you're doing Medicaid or Medicare,
Mhm.
and they will recommend it, and they're more apt to pay for it through that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay?
Thanks. See, it's not just you, Mr. Douglas. We can help each other. The
Hey,
parents can help each other
hey, that is
by this.
definitely what this is about, and that's,
Thank you.
again, that's the reason why, as I kind of shared at the start, want to make this interactive and engagement, a thing where we're engaged with each other, because, I surely don't have all the answers to all these things, and that's where you guys come in. And yeah, with anything with your kids, I will say this, whatever end of the spectrum they may be on, talk to their teachers. If you got a kid that's, super gifted and getting bored or whatever, hey, you can request for them to be tested beyond, that initial testing that might happen at the start of the year. You can say, hey, I need my kid tested for gifted, and they'll let you know when the next one's coming up that they can do that, because sometimes without you requesting, it's not going to be done. They're not going to catch everybody. It's just a fact. They're not. So you got to be proactive and be like, hey, I need this testing for whatever level that they're at,
Right.
to get them where they are. Because, there's funds that are set aside for, these are all parts of special education, whether it's gifted, whether it's whatever, it's all a part of that same bucket, where they need extra attention. And in COVID, again, has highlighted a lot of these things. If you have challenges on one side or the other, some kids who are great in the classroom, when it comes to being on the screen, that's not their thing. I heard a couple girls talking a few weeks back, and they were just sharing with each other, like, man, I hate that stuff on the screen. My grades have gone down so bad. Other kids are like, hey, this is my world. Like my son, he's like, hey, leave me in my room with a computer. I'll make good grades. Just, shove some food under the door or whatever, and I'll be happy with life, But other kids, they're not that way. They
Right.
need,
A kid with ADHD is that having to focus on a computer, hour after hour after hour is very, very hard for him.
yes. And most of us have some level of it. And I'm surprised you guys all haven't dropped off the call, because I went beyond our usual attention span. But with
You
kids,
trying to get rid of us?
no. I'm, like I said, I can talk all day, whatever. But I'm just saying, with kids, and especially just even adults nowadays, the attention span is just like so short. So for them to be stuck in front of a screen, that's what I'm saying. Most of them, literally, if they're at home especially, unless you're on top of them, unless you just don't, that device isn't there, they're going to have schoolwork here. They're going to have maybe a phone or something else running over here. My wife sees this all the time in high school. She's like, okay, I know these kids are just watching those TikTok videos the whole class time. That's all they're doing. They're just like watching this stupid stuff happening while, they got this happening over here. And she has said herself that, she would not know some of her students if they walk by her in the classroom, ones that have been online the whole time. If they walk by her in the hallway, she wouldn't recognize them, because all she has seen is like a dark shadow in her room, maybe a little bit of a silhouette. She doesn't even know what the kids look like, and so it's just a different time. And so that's why, again, as parents, we have our challenges, but the teachers, they got their own set of challenges as well, that they're dealing with, not just technology, but just, not being able to connect to those kids in the same way. So it's challenges all the way around the board,
It's been hard compared to, this is my fifth child, and the first one during this all this virtual stuff, and it's been really, really difficult, compared to just being able to, to go to the school and everybody knows your child, and You know, it's been rough.
Yeah, I know, yeah, and that's, again, thank you so much for sharing that, because, you know, I think we all need to hear that other people are going through the same thing, and whatever end of it, that just helps us just to know that, hey, we're not in this thing alone.
Right.
And whether it
Right.
be, you know, kid
Well, just
challenges.
having you as a human voice on the phone, you know, is great.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
thank you.
definitely. Well, yeah, and it's great to hear from you guys, because again, with COVID, we can't see each other that much, you know, just physically. Can't go to those
Right.
parent meetings where you can all just, you know, wave across the room or whatever else. So that's why I love this. And hopefully we'll be able to get more people on and just have more of a community built this way, that, you know, for where we're at right now, so we can
Well,
share
thank you.
experiences. Well,
Thank you
thank
for the
you.
time you put in to
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah, well, thank you guys again
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
See you in the next class.
All right. Sounds good. All right.
Signing
Have a
off.
great day.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great
Thanks
day.
again for your survey responses. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.